Hello, good afternoon. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Put those questions in the comments now. So, yesterday, hi there. It's nice to see you. Thanks so much for the love. I appreciate it. Now, yesterday we were talking about the approved VAWA green card. So, my client is going to get her 10-year green card. Thanks so much. Have a blessed work day as well. And I want to talk today just very briefly about the process. What did my client go through to get to the 10-year green card, and what were the benefits she got along the way? That made the process at least bearable for her. Hi there, it's nice to see you. Thanks so much. Now, when my client started with me, it was a very scary time. In fact, this client had gone to previous interviews with the spouse. The spouse had sabotaged the interview process for my client. And at that point, she was trying to decide how she was going to move forward from a denied application with her spouse who was sabotaging her process. So that's when she saw a video just like the one you're looking at now. And she called me and we talked about the situation, what she's been through with her spouse, and VAWA was going to be the best option going forward. We jumped right into work, got it filed, and then at the time, my client was not authorized to work because her green card had been, the application had been denied. So, work permit denied, travel documents denied, and no, because the application was denied with the spouse. So we went ahead and refiled everything, refiled work permit, travel document, along with adjustment of status application, and went through the process again. But this time it was my client's process. The thing that was causing failures with her green card process previously was that weak link, her spouse that was mistreating her. The spouse was intentionally sabotaging her process, causing these denials. Previously, my client was spending 9 years total trying to get through the process with this spouse. This is a process. When you are with a spouse who is in it with you, this is a process that's supposed to take maybe 8 months to 12 months. My client went through this for 9 years with this spouse because this spouse did not care at the end of the day about her immigration process. And yes, it is unbelievable. And as a result of that, time and time again, she failed in the process. So we went forward with the difference now is it was my client's process. She had the control here. Whether whatever was needed by immigration, she could provide it. It wasn't dependent on the spouse. The spouse was not involved at all. The spouse was not needed in the process, other than, of course, the fact that we had to present the facts showing how the spouse had sabotaged my client, mistreated my client over the years. My client got the work permit and the travel document at around the 9 month mark. That enabled my client to go through the rest of the process with the ability to legally work, with the ability to legally travel while she was waiting for the process to be completed. And, the ultimate goal is to get to the green card. But one a very important benefit of the VAWA process is the ability to apply for the work permit, the green card, and the travel document while you're waiting for this process to be completed. Well, Unfortunately, one of the big changes that have occurred with the VAWA process is that it is no longer a 6-month process, right? It is now a 3-year process total. But once again, they're issuing 5-year work permits, 5-year social security number, and travel documents in order to hold over anyone who's applying for VAWA until this process is completed. So many of my clients, even when I'm calling them about an update, some of them will be like, okay, and what's going on? Because they are going about their lives. They do want to get to the green card, they want to get to the end of it. But the work permit and the social security, the travel document, allows them some comfort, some stability, some reassurance while they're going through the VAWA process. So fast forward to now, I believe 2.5 years after my client got the VAWA approved. And then fast forward again to a year later, she is now a green card holder. She has her 10-year green card. So no more renewing work permits, no more renewing travel documents. My client has a 10-year. And the next step for my client is citizenship. That's the logical next step. And the one other benefit of this VAWA process is that when you have a US citizen spouse who has mistreated you and you're approved for the VAWA green card, you can apply for citizenship in a shorter time than normally, which will be 3 years. After 3 years of having the green card, you can apply for citizenship. So obviously, that's the next exciting step for my client here. So it is worth it. When you, yes, absolutely. When you're going through a process, one of the cons that I do make very clear is that when you're doing VAWA, you may be taking a longer path to your green card. But in cases where you have two choices, you have to depend on an individual that is sabotaging you, that's mistreating you, or but you are looking at a shorter time versus a longer path, but you know that it is all within your control. Which one would you choose? Now, keep in mind the catch here with the spouse. I said shorter path. But the catch here is, for example, my client spent 9 years. Something that was supposed to take 6 months to a year took 9 years for her, all to just get a denial anyway, right? So my client, which rightfully so, you're with your spouse, you're trying to work it out, you trust your spouse, so you're trying to get through this process, the marriage-based process. Sometimes you don't think you have a choice, but you think maybe it's the shortest path to the green card and everything will work out. Everything will change once you get your green card. That so-called shorter path turns out to be a long, winding, miserable road to nowhere, right? So that's my point is it may VAWA, looking at the both of them, VAWA, and my clients get it. My clients get it because they have been there. They have seen, see where they were going. They see the ugly path they are going down, and they quickly went ahead and went for VAWA. And they are happier for it. They're more stable. They're more secure. They know that this is their process and nobody else's. It's confidential, so nobody else is involved, right? So you have to look at the long term. Look at the long term. You're married to someone who you you have that gut feeling that they are just not going to get you there. It's time to think about applying for the VAWA green card process instead, because it's a lot. It may be a longer road, but it is surely going to be a more comfortable road. to the green card. And I say more comfortable because you're not dealing with mistreatment, you're not dealing with blackmail, you're not dealing with, instability, you're not dealing with someone who you can't depend on, you're not dealing with someone you can't trust. You only have yourself in this process. So you can give me a call, we can talk, and I can determine whether you qualify. Now, let's talk about what mistreatment means here. Mistreatment means that you are being subjected to verbal, emotional mistreatment, even financial mistreatment. If your spouse is controlling, if they are manipulative, if they are jealous, if they are talking about your immigration status, all of those fall under the umbrella of VAWA. And keep in mind that it's not just about abuse, but also are you being subjected to extreme cruelty? For example, it's right there in the policy manual that extreme cruelty does cover a spouse who is using your immigration status against you. It's very fairly common for my clients to experience this at some point in their marriage, where the spouse is hot and cold. 1 minute when everything is going well, you're complying with all they want from you, all they want you to do. They're nice and warm towards you, and then you stand up for yourself, you speak up, you tell them what you need, what you want to do, then they're cold. They're not going to file this paperwork for you. They're going to report you to immigration. They're going to tell lies on you to immigration. Those fall under the umbrella of extreme cruelty that does qualify you for VAWA and then ultimately the VAWA green card. So give me a call. Let's talk. Now, I do want to spend the rest of the time focusing on your questions. So put your questions in the comments, and I'm going to jump straight into answering your questions. Hi there. Thanks so much for the love from New York. Hi there, Nadia. Nice to see you. Hi there, Noreen. Nice to see you. All right. Um, all right. So let's go ahead and answer some questions. How long it take to get citizenship if I file in New Jersey? Right now, citizenship applications on a whole, because it's not really dependent on the state. So New Jersey, you go to the USCIS office for the interview, and sometimes it depends on their availability. However, on a whole, in general, they're taking an average of 6 months. For me, I've seen citizenships happen in as little as 2 months and in as long as 8 months, so 2 to 8 months for citizenship. If I file asylum, can I join the army? So you need to be based on now. I'm not the authority for requirements to join the military. I have spoken to individuals who have told me about their experience, and usually they'll let them know they have to get permanent residence to join the military. But you can always call a recruiter directly and ask some questions about that. I want to seek asylum. Give us a call. Let's talk. Let's see whether you qualify. Asylum is for individuals who are here in the US and you are afraid to return to your country because you are facing a fear of threats or violence against you based on your identity, based on your beliefs, based on your your ethnicity, based on your national origin, based on your religion, based on the particular social group that you might be a part of. And when I say particular social group, it can be any group, any group that is definable, that's identifiable, that's being targeted as a whole in your country. And if you, for example, if you identify as a part of a group, could say a religious group, or say a group, a part of the LGBTQ community, or say you are a girl that maybe is being targeted by religious um, practices that cause you pain or cause subjects you to harm in some way, but because you are belonging to a group of, say, young unmarried girls who have to face this type of religious tradition, then that can place you in a particular social group. So it can be any kind of definable group under the immigration law. Then you may qualify for asylum here. So this is where it's important, though, to call, schedule, let's talk about your situation. My question is, if my little brother is 19 years old and he just turned a citizen and got his citizenship, can he file for his mom at the age of 19? He has to wait till he's 21. Hi there, how long does it take I-212 and I-601 waiver take? So about a year and a half to 2 years right now. So they do take a while. Can I get your contact number? So it's 561. I'm going to go ahead and type it here in the comments. Also, go to the link in the profile. And if you go to the link, you'll see the website, link to the website. You can go there to get our contact information as well. Where are you located? So we are in Boca Raton, Florida. We also have an office in Delray Beach. So we are in South Florida. However, we do represent clients all over. So many of my clients are spread out throughout the United States. So no matter where you are, we can help you. And we're very good at that. Please, can I file for my mom in Africa with my permanent residence? Unfortunately not. You'll have to become a U.S. citizen first. So if you look at the comments, you'll see immigration lawyer Sharifa. You'll see my number on there. Give us a call, and then we'll definitely, if you don't get an answer right away, we'll definitely call you back to schedule that appointment for you. Hello, is there any way to adjust status with C1D visa? I'm glad you brought this up. If you're being mistreated by a US citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, a parent, or a citizen child who's age 21 or over, even if you entered with a C1D, in other words, a crewman's visa, you could qualify for VAWA to get the green card still and adjust status here. And then also there are other ways that you're able to obtain with C1D if you are seeking certain humanitarian forms of relief. But I need to understand your situation to determine whether you qualify for those. So, for example, T visa would also be one, and also the asylum. Happy day. Question: after marriage, I changed my last name to my husband's second name. I used that name in our joint account and tax returns, but my passport and state ID has a previous name. Um, and I'm thinking, are you asking if that's going to be a problem? It shouldn't be a problem. Um, Do you do asylum? Absolutely. Yes, we do. How long after getting married can I put in my papers? There's no rule that says you can't do it right away, but you want to make sure you're ready, that you put your best foot forward because they're waiving interviews. If you don't put your best foot forward in applying for this application, it means that you could possibly be scheduled for an interview so the officer can ask you more questions, or you'll be issued an RFE, which can delay your process. So you can apply right away, but make sure you're ready. Make sure you have your evidence. Make sure you put forth the best application to increase your chances of getting the interview waived. Hello, T visa don't get work permit at the same time of approval, or you have to apply separately. The work permit comes at the same time as approval. Now, if you are, say you have a spouse and children who are applying with you, and if you're under 21, even a parent, then in that case, you, in order to make sure that your spouse and your children get their work permit at the same time as approval, is you have to make sure you apply for the work permit at the same time that you're submitting all the applications. But the main applicant, as in you're the main applicant, you don't need to apply for a work permit. You'll get the work permit as soon as you're approved. What if I have a New York driver's license and my husband have Maryland license? Is that going to be a problem during the interview? Yes, it may be a problem. You have to make sure you can explain why you have different driver's license. I know this is something that happens often, is that maybe you're working in two different states, or your spouse has strong ties to the other state, and so they choose to keep their state license in the other state. So you have to be sure to explain why that is. I have gotten approvals, but you have to be ready. Don't let them catch you off guard. Make sure you have an explanation as to why you have different state address or different addresses on your license and different addresses on your state. And if you can avoid that question altogether, just change the license. I mean, it really isn't worth it to distract this, have a distraction about your address. It's, if you can just change it, just change it. Madam, I belong to Ohio. Where can I come and meet to talk to you about asylum? So we do virtual, phone, and video through Zoom. So once you schedule the appointment, you'll be provided a Zoom link, or whatever makes you comfortable. But that's how we work with our clients who are not close by. As a matter of fact, we work with most of our clients virtually, because it's faster, it's more efficient, and we get the work done for our clients. Can I take domestic flights if I have the C1D? So this is where I wouldn't be able to advise you. I mean, none of this information I'm giving you is personalized legal advice. Traveling within the US, generally, I haven't seen any issues with my clients, even when they're undocumented. However, the risk is going to depend on um, what your facts are. For example, if I have a client who has an outstanding deportation order out on them, I would advise them until we resolve this issue. I wouldn't tell them to just hop on a domestic flight, because they're at a higher risk for possibly being detained because they're wanted by immigration. But a client who has never encountered, any kind of immigration issues, even though they may be undocumented, they're at a lower risk. So it just depends. Can I get married to a green card holder that's waiting for a citizenship? He already filed for a citizenship in January. So you can always, I think that comes down to you and your significant other about the right time to get married. I know one major concern is, will it affect the person if you get married to your partner, is it going to affect the possibility of them getting citizenship? And throughout my years of practice, I've represented multiple clients who went through citizenship with an undocumented spouse. They disclose that on their application, because you're supposed to, whatever questions they ask, you have to disclose it truthfully to avoid any issues. And it has never been an issue. There's no basis for it to be an issue. They cannot deny an application because a citizen has an undocumented spouse. So when you want to get married, it really comes down to a personal decision about what the right time is for you. If a male US citizen filed for his kids from Ghana, does he need permission from the mother? So when the children are going to the embassy, you want to make sure that you can provide evidence that the children do have authority to get the the visa. Now, with my usually with my applications, I've never had a situation where the officer has asked to see permission, but it's always best to have it just in case, especially where maybe there's some friction or there's a custody issue going on. Then you want to make sure that you have that permission. I've never, in my years of seeing visas being issued to children, we've even sent the children in with guardians for their visa interview, and they've never asked for any permission from the other parent authorizing them to leave. But it's always best to, it just depends on the situation, but it's best to make sure that that's covered in any case. What can I do if immigration denies my green card marriage application due to unattended interview so you were not notified about? So, there are ways to possibly get it reopened for reconsideration, seeing that you didn't receive the notification. So that may take some time to get done, but that might be the best. Might be the best. If all else fails, you'll probably have to refile if all else fails. Why NVC taking so long after documentarily qualified? Yes, because they have to wait for dates to be open, and there are a lot of people waiting, and because of that, it's backed up. But it is ridiculous. I remember a time when, from beginning to end for consular processing, from beginning to end, it was 9 months, and now we're looking at 2 years. Is there a hold up with time frame for green card? Mine showed 3 months, and now it's saying case taking longer. So it's going to be going back and forth, just depending on what's going on at the field office and so forth. If a person is not working, can they help you still? I'm not sure what that means. Please, ma'am, I'm on F1. I don't want to file through marriage or asylum. Is there any way to get my residence except getting sponsored by a job? This is where we need to talk. So I have found ways, but I do need to see what your circumstances are to see if you can get some form of relief, relief or an alternative option. If I hire a lawyer, do they represent us in the interview, or is it that you prep us for the interview? So I give my clients a choice, and it just depends on what's going on in the case. If my client's case is complicated and they're at a higher risk for problems occurring in the interview, then I recommend I be there and I give my clients that option. If they usually agree with me. If the interview is of no concern and it's we don't anticipate any issues, then prepping would be more appropriate. So it just depends on what the situation is. Are you present for the interviews with clients, or do we have to go by ourselves? So that depends on the clients. When I come back to USA after staying for 175 before, okay, so I'm not sure. Yes, 2 years is consular processing. On average, they're taking 2 years. All right. Hello, just got my work permit. Please, should I expect my interview soon? It depends. If this is marriage based, yes, you may not even get an interview. It just depends on how, what your application looks like. But I would say right now the process is taking anywhere from 8 to 12 months. So, it just depends. Is it normal for I-485 family base to be under review after 28 months? It was received. 28 months is long. It may still be within the processing times that they have estimated. You'd have to check their case processing times on the USCIS website. But it's that, yeah, that is long. I saying that my card is being produced. What does that mean? It's being created. So they're creating that card and they're going to send it in the mail soon. So it's not in the mail yet, it's being created. By error, marked citizen on I-45, but my husband is resident. Should fix it with amendment to US. Absolutely, yes, definitely. You need to get that fixed. My RFE medical for I-485 was received by USCIS a month ago. What should I expect? I-130 approved. In this case, that's a good indication that the next thing is the green card in the mail. I got prima facie illegal entry, asylum in court, submit withdrawal. How long that's going to take? So um, I'm not sure what, if you got the prima facie for VAWA, I'm not sure what you're asking there. I got a notification saying that my card is being produced. So yeah, that means that it's being created and it's gonna be sent. Good morning, just got my work permit. Congratulations. What if your work permit mailed to you that it's approved, but on the USCIS it said that so sometimes they don't update the case status. So if you got your work permit in the mail, um, then that's great. It's been a year since my VAWA case was approved. When will be my green card? So I'd say start looking out for it now. What they're doing is they send the RFE for the medical, and then once they get the medical, they will issue the approval, and hopefully you'll get it without the interview. What's next after getting my work permit for VAWA? Then it's to wait until they make a decision on your VAWA, which can take anywhere from 2 years to 3 years. So you'll have to wait for the decision. And in the meantime, you'll get prima facie notices. What if your work permit mails to you, and it's approved, but on the USCIS website it said my case taking, so they didn't update the online case status? That's all. What matters is you got it. How long does it take to get a green card? It depends. Green cards can take anywhere from a few months, 5 months, to years and years and years to get. So it just depends on what your process is. Do I qualify for VAWA if my US husband charged with child neglect? If it's your child that your spouse neglected, then yes, that could be grounds for VAWA. Now, do you in specific qualify? I need to speak with you in a consultation. That's going to be the best way to determine whether you meet all the requirements. But that's certainly a red flag and an indication you may very well qualify. Do you need police reports for VAWA? No. I've gotten approvals without police reports. What if your work permit mailed to you that it's approved, but on the USCIS website it's okay? So answer that. So I filed my VAWA and get back a letter from them saying they will get back to me in 61 days. I'm not sure. No, if is that a receipt notice? I'm not sure what happened there. So if you are in doubt, get legal advice. I got notification saying that my card is being produced. What does that mean? So I already answered that. What if you don't live with a spouse? So they just issued new USCIS policies that says if you lived with the spouse at some point. Now, living with a spouse, it has some flexibility here, because think about it. If you were subjected to abuse, say you got married yesterday, and say overnight the monster in your spouse came out and they mistreated you, subjected you to extreme cruelty, that same day you got married. And you stayed overnight. You say the intention where you're planning to live with a spouse, that was day one of living together with your spouse. And then the next day you were out of there because you were not going to meet anymore. That still qualifies you for VAWA, and that there is a strong argument, which has been accepted, by the way, that you lived with that spouse. Even if you lived with that spouse for one day, you lived with that spouse. And what caused the separation is the fact that you decided you're not going to put up with it. And as soon as they subjected you to mistreatment or extreme cruelty, you left, which this is what most people are advised to do, right? Even though sometimes it takes a while to get away. Sometimes VAWA itself is an escape plan for my clients. But if you make that decision and you only stayed with them for one day, we do argue, and we've succeeded on that argument, that does qualify as living with the spouse. So now you said, what if you don't live with the spouse? That's where you have to think about it. Why is it that you left the spouse? Were you intending to live with a spouse, but something came up that you did not feel safe living with a spouse? Did you stay with them, live with them for a week? Were you planning to transition to a home? So you were staying in a hotel for, with the intention of living in the hotel until you get a house. But then you decided to leave. That is considered residing together. So, just if you never lived with them, if you just absolutely cannot say you plan to live with them, you were living with them, then VAWA will not be approved. There is a requirement that you do show that at some point in your relationship, not even when you're married, maybe before you were married, you lived with them, then you can qualify for this still. And as I said before, it doesn't matter how long you lived with them. So there's nothing that says you have to show you lived with them for a year. I got a no, so no, so I got, okay. Just submitted a green card application. Do I need 2023 tax records? Now, if you are the citizen, you should get your 2023 tax records ready. The tax return deadline, some people have not filed their taxes yet. It's due April 15th. So you just have to make sure that that is done. That is done so that if they do require it for the affidavit of support, that you have it ready. So I'm just scrolling through. This is a good question that many have. Can we apply for EB2 visa and adjust status while in the US and overstaying? No. So they will not allow you to adjust status after overstaying. So be very careful about that. After biometrics for the T visa, how long after do you get your work permit? You have to get it when you're approved. So I would say anywhere from 6 months to 18 months after applying. But on average, most are getting approved in 12 months, most of my clients. So filed I-130 and 485 back in October for my spouse. Biometrics done, but still don't have an interview. So yeah, that is fairly common. And if, you might just get the green card in the mail too. So look out for that. Can you reopen a deportation case? Yes, you can. Sometimes with new evidence or if something new comes up, you can do that. How long after submitting application will you hear from USCIS? 2 to 4 weeks. What next after prima facie granted? You might get a couple more prima facies, and then after that, a decision on the VAWA application. I filed the VAWA application February 19th. I have not heard anything back from them yet. Is this normal? Sometimes. Usually you get and it depends. Did you file just the VAWA petition? Did you apply for the work permit at the same time through adjustment of status? But if you just file the petition, yes, it's normal not to hear anything. I mean, usually though, you get your biometrics, you get your prima facie, and then things go silent until you get your next prima facie, until you get your decision. How do I get to check my VAWA status online? Can I get an update? Use your receipt number, and then they will give you a general status update. My husband have different addresses in our marriage certificate because we weren't staying together, but we have our apartment now, and we have all the addresses changed except the marriage cert. Then just make sure you provide to the immigration your updated document showing your new address. Notice not received online in login. So you will get it by mail as well. So you can just make sure. Now, keep in mind, NOID is notice of intent to deny. Please note this is not a denial. So this is where it's important, though. You have a chance to turn this around for your client. We have done that for our clients. So it's very important at this point to even get representation to assist you with that. Do you need therapy report? I'm thinking this is for VAWA. Okay, do you need therapy report for VAWA? It is not necessarily a requirement. In some cases, I do recommend having that. And if my client is going through therapy, yes, we do ask for that because it does show the effect of the mistreatment. And in some cases, a therapist report or an evaluation does explain in a very expert way, more than an attorney could explain, how certain types of mistreatment, especially when it comes to emotional mistreatment, um, can impact the client in such a way that it is abuse, or it is mistreatment, or it is extreme cruelty. So that's where the therapy report can add a lot of strength to the application. What is the process to apply for a work permit if you don't live in the US? So you can't apply for a work permit if you're outside of the US. Work permits are only for individuals who qualify for certain benefits or forms of relief that are currently in the US. If you do want to come to the US to work, you have to apply for a work visa. And the work visa, you get that through an employer, most times an employer who's going to sponsor you. My question is, I forgot to include my biometrics fee with my I-485. What will happen? They're probably going to reject your application and then ask you to send it back with the correct fee. It's a pain. It is a pain, but just go ahead and make sure you have the right fee. Okay, so I saw in USCIS website that my VAWA case was transferred to another office. What that means? It just means right now they're trying to reassign cases, transferring them to different offices to balance the workflow and make it flow better. So it doesn't mean anything bad. I get them all the time for my clients that it's being transferred between Nebraska or the Vermont office. So, I wouldn't panic about that. At what time I can call you to talk about my case? So call the office and they will definitely help you to schedule your appointment. That's going to be the best thing, because now keep in mind, my schedule is filling up. All right. So I want to help you. And we do have another attorney that is also available, Attorney Bria, who Attorney and Bria and I work very closely together to determine whether you can qualify for a work permit, qualify for the green card. So you can schedule with either one of us, and you can do it right now. You don't have to call, and because sometimes that in itself can, there might be calls before you, and because of that, you're further down the line. So if you want to get first dibs on a date and time to speak with me, go to the link in the profile, go to the link in the description of this video, click on the link, and you'll go to Linktree, where it has all the links to different resources related to ST Law Office. Click on the one that says schedule my own appointment, and it's really easy, very quick, and you can choose your date and be on my schedule right now. So just do that before time runs out, because both Attorney Bria and our schedules they fill up very quickly. So please go ahead and just be proactive with that. So, hi there, good day. If I'm currently on the H-2B visa extension, I-797, and is in the process of filing for adjustment of status through my wife, which is an American citizen, do I still need to apply for the work authorization? I don't know your case. I'm not your attorney, but I would say yes, yes, yes. Apply for that work permit. And let me tell you why. Your H-2B visa is limited. You can only work for the employer on that extension. You can't work for anybody else. The work permit, the 5-year work permit you get, you won't have to wait 5 years for your marriage-based process, but you get a very flexible work permit. You get a card that is valid for 5 years, even though you probably get your green card or for before, way before 5 years. You can work anywhere. You can do anything with that, right? There are no restrictions on what you can do with that employment authorization. So it gives you more flexibility, because one thing I do notice with individuals that consult with me about the H-2B program is it is very restrictive. It's very restrictive. And if you want to just get up and walk away, you cannot do that, right, with the H-2B. So why not go for something that's more flexible, that allows you more freedom while you wait for the green card? All right. Okay, so I have some questions here that are on the question box. So let me go ahead and answer those. What kind of harm will be done for the relative when you report them in the T? So, it's really on a case by case basis. The process is sensitive and it is extremely confidential. There have been cases with the T's, and I would even say in most T visa applications, nothing happens to that relative. However, remember the T visa is for victims of trafficking, and victims of trafficking comes in different forms, and it comes in different even levels of harm that even occurs to the victim. So, what will happen in the case will depend on the facts here. For example, I'll give you an example where, we had to talk to law enforcement about our client's domestic violence. That was, the spouse was forcing our client to stay in the marriage and move forward, do work for them in their business and in the home. And as a result of that, we did go to law enforcement, and we reported this. And law enforcement said, well, there's nothing they can do about this, because in their book, This is not the type of case they would categorize as trafficking. However, even though that was the case, our client still got approved because the definition of trafficking, or the way that immigration looks at trafficking, can be very different from the way that law enforcement looks at trafficking. And so immigration is not so much worried about what what has happened, what kind of consequences that the trafficker will. They're not worried about what the trafficker will face in consequences. Immigration wants to make sure that the victim gets the relief that they deserve based on what they had to endure, regardless of what law enforcement decides to do here. So that's just to show you that the reporting, it comes in different forms, just depending on the facts. But in some cases, I would say, unfortunately, in many cases, in a majority of my cases, they nothing happens. Uh, what can I do if immigration denies my marriage green card application because I didn't show up for an interview and wasn't notified? So I did answer that. Would escaping and working for another employer disqualify you from the T visa? Absolutely not. So the T visa, they will not hold against you the fact that you had to work without a work permit, because you're trying to survive here and they understand that. Um, can a man file for his green card where his wife is nowhere to be found? So usually this would fall within abandonment, and abandonment by itself does not mean that you qualify to apply on your own for the green card. However, before abandonment happens, there is usually some form of mistreatment, or extreme cruelty involved in that, leading up to the abandonment, and that is what could qualify you for VAWA. So this is where we need to talk about your facts here. All right. I want to book an appointment with you. Go to the link in the profile on TikTok. You'll see everything you need to schedule your appointment. Really easy. So get that done right away and get on my schedule ASAP. How do I get a green card as an international student? Can I apply to a company to change my status too? So the company who hires you, if they would like to move forward to sponsor you after recruiting you, then yes, that is possible. As an international student, that usually is a logical next step, but you have to find the employer. Or as an international student, if you have family members who qualify to sponsor you, that could be an option as well. I was approved when I was child I-130. Can I file for I-485 as an adult? The I-130 never expires. However, there are issues, maybe issues with you aging out. So that might be a problem here. It depends on the facts. I want to talk to you about how much time has gone by. You said you're a child, now you're an adult. We need to understand how much time, and under immigration law, because there is a deadline, right? There's the I-130 never expires, but timelines. For example, I-130 was approved, but you have, after it's sent to the NVC, you have a year to make sure you keep up communications and to get things sorted through, and then they close it out if you don't follow through with it, and then that requires you to refile. So we need to talk. Um, can filing I-912, so that's a fee waiver, delay my VAWA? I filed VAWA adjustment and fee waiver 2 months ago. Yes, it can. So when you apply for a fee waiver, I've had delays up to 4 months for fee waiver. So it can, so make sure you plan for that. How do I get green card? So I answered that. Can I join the military with a work permit? Check with like an army recruiter, but I doubt it. How long to receive EAD renewal receipt? About 2 weeks. If I reschedule biometrics was done, should an email be expected? So right now, when I reschedule, I do it in the USCIS account, and usually you can just print the letter right there in your USCIS account, or you could expect another rescheduled appointment notice to come by mail and to follow up. All right. So thanks so much for all these great questions. I'm going to answer two more questions and then I'm heading out. My spouse was green card holder and I got green card from VAWA. Can I apply for citizenship after 3 years or 5 years? So in the case, it's really if you are the spouse of a citizen, it's 3 years. But if you're the spouse of a green card holder, it's going to be 5 years. My VAWA abuse case applied 2022 December. I got September 2023 my EAD and travel documents. How long will it take? Many more months. So I would say the total VAWA process is about 3 years. Along with I-130, what other forms should I file when petition for my adult child who is presently overstayed in the US? So you need legal advice because this is more complicated and it's not as simple as filing some additional forms to fix this situation when you have a child who's 21 or over. So get legal advice about this for sure. How long does it take to get your green card after they approve your I-797? So I'm not sure what the I-797 is the name of the notice itself, but what were you approved for? If you got your adjustment of status I-485 approval, then it's going to be about 2 weeks from now that you get the green card. So I got the green card from VAWA, not from my green card. So it the VAWA is still based on whether you apply for citizenship within the shorter period of time. Still depends on the status of the spouse. So it's 3 years. So even though you did have a green card holder spouse, it still is 5 years for that green card holder spouse. How long after marriage should you start filing for your green cards? I answered that. All right. Thanks, everyone. I think that's it. Let me see one more, and then I'm going to head out. If I start an asylum or VAWA, how long does it take for your minor to get the opportunity to come to the States? So upon approval is when they start to work on getting. Now, upon approval, asylum upon approval, you have to file additional forms to get your relative here. For VAWA, you have to wait till you get the green card, and then your relatives will be able to join you here after going through consular processing. All right, thanks everyone. I will be back tomorrow at around lunchtime to answer some more of your questions. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. All right, bye-bye.